Video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful card with this great technique. You can see here we've got this real depth in it, and we've got these beautiful coloured sparkly corners by using the pastel pens. Here's another option, so another version using exactly the same technique. So I'm going to show you the technique of how we make these beautiful corners to make cards just like this. So to make this beautiful card with that sparkly different colours of flowers and leaves, we're going to use JND 518 Crazy Daisy corners and JND 516 Crazy Daisy as the decoration on there. But the main point of this is using the corners. And one of the important things to remember with the corners, they're not just the design flipped. So that is not the same. Each one is not identical. So you just need to make sure that you're using the right corner when you're doing this. So the very first thing I did was to take a piece of coconut white card cut to 4x6, and I cut one of each of the corners into the centre of the piece, or into the two edges of the piece, to create myself the beautiful sort of middle section. And what I want to do before I do anything else with this is to stamp the sentiment in the middle of there. So what I'm going to use is just the beautiful Sent with Love from the Handy Sentiments. No, that's not Sent with Love, that's Happy New Year, we don't want that. Sent with Love on my precision press, and I'm going to stamp this in green ink to keep these colours all the same and flowing. So I'm just using, this is Avocado, no, Grass Green from VersaFine Claire, and just place that into the middle and stamp that down to give me the sentiment before I start. So what I need to do now is to build up these two corners to be able to do the colouring. So take two pieces of white card, and you simply want to cut into each one of them the same corner piece, and just make sure you take all of the pieces out. We're only going to colour the bigger bits and the dots, but nice and simple, just like that. And then you want to spray glue these together onto a scrap piece of card. So I've got a scrap piece of white card here, and I'm just going to stick one on. Then I want to take the next one, again, spray glue, or you can use glue glaze, but you need to make sure they're really well stuck down. And you stick both of them together until they're both perfectly overlapped. And I've already done that here. And what I've actually done is I've already coloured in the green section of this one. So nice and simple. And I'm using the pastel sparkle pen, so I get that beautiful sparkle. So we simply then take, and on this one I'm going to use the yellow. And you just want to colour in. And it doesn't matter if you go over the top. You're going to probably go over the top at some stage. I'm getting a little bit more experience at this, a little bit better at just colouring it inside, but don't worry if you go over the top. Let's go over the top intentionally, because we're going to put them both behind the main piece. So using your sparkle pen, just colour into each of those spots. So I'm colouring my petals in yellow, and I've already, as I said, done my leaves, so you don't have to watch that. But you get that beautiful sort of sparkle just coming through. And there's a couple there of leaves that I've missed, so I'm going to swap into my green. And just colour those leaves in, just like that. Make sure I've got all of the dots. There's a little dot I missed, so just putting the dots in like that until you've coloured the whole of the design and you're happy with it. And it's when you're doing the leaves that you find sometimes that the lines come on top, but honestly that doesn't actually matter at all. So you want to do that twice until you've got two pieces just like these. And then you want to take your background that you've already made, and again I'm using spray glue for speed, and we take each one at a time and match it over the top until all you see through is that beautiful coloured piece. So I'm going to do the same with the other side, and again match it up until it's literally over the top, and there you get that beautiful deep colour. I mean, it makes such a difference. So I'd already trimmed these down slightly, but obviously they still don't fit exactly. So take your scissors or your guillotine, whichever you're more comfortable with, and just neaten up the edges. And this is a lot easier than trying to cut this front panel 3 times. Because it's in different pieces, it's a lot easier to do. And of course, if you get the wrong corner, then it makes a complete mess. So it's a lot easier to do it that way. So there's our main piece done with our beautiful flowers and our leaves. So here I've got a card blank that's cut to 5 by 7. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of glue on to those 2 pieces. And then in the gap, obviously, there will be a little bit of distance in that. So the way that you get around that is to just take a little bit of your 3D glue gel. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of 3D glue gel in each corner. And then in this little space here in the centre. So just a couple of dots wherever there isn't. You don't want it to be bumpy when you pop it down. So by doing it this way, we can make sure that those are stuck down and that you don't get a gap anywhere. And then I've made up here some little flowers just using the double flower method, and arrange those around. So just using the double flower method, which is in one of the other videos. And again, I'm going to add these with a little bit of glue gel and a cocktail stick, which just fixes them perfectly. And again, you can add a little bit of depth with this, but I found this is one of the best ways, surprisingly, to add my flowers onto a card without it tearing. And it gives me a little bit of time to go and maneuver them until I'm happy that they're in the right sort of area. Whereas obviously, if you're using your normal super tacky glue, they go straight down. And then if you try and move them, you sort of end up tearing the card. So glue gel is always, to me, a better way to add your flowers. And there we go, just like that. There we have our flowers. And to finish off, just to sort of tie it all together, I've got some of our little mini pearls here. And I'm just going to add a few of those on randomly to keep that idea of the whole spray working. But a really beautiful, bright, summery card. I pushed that one a little bit too much. Let's not push it down. So a bright, summery card with the beautiful sparkle coming from those beautiful coloured corners. And I want to show you now, here's a different version where I've done all 4 corners and just used slightly softer colours. So there are lots of different options you can do for doing this technique, but it's a great way to get depth and dimension into your cards without making them too deep. For more ideas, hints, tips and inspiration, why not visit the John Next Door official page on Facebook.